Get ready to step into a tale not everyone dares to hear. A king, a tyrant, yet also a man with secrets so dark they make history itself shudder. Ivan the Terrible, a name etched into legend with unimaginable deeds. Picture a figure wielding absolute power, yet harboring a heart brimming with sinister schemes and decisions that even the devil might fear. From an orphaned boy abandoned in a palace teeming with intrigue to the ruler holding a nation's fate in his hands, Ivan IV not only struck terror into his enemies, but also left even his closest allies living in constant dread. But what truly shaped such a man? How could a king make an entire empire breathe in unrelenting fear? Let's explore the life of Ivan the Terrible together. A saga where power, brutality, and madness intertwine beyond belief. So, are you brave enough to uncover the shadowy secrets of this king? Ivan IV was born on August 25th, 1530 in Kolomenskoye near Moscow into a powerful family that soon plunged into tragedy. His father, Grand Duke Vasily III, also known as the son of Ivan the Great, died in 1533 when Ivan was just 3 years old. It's not hard to imagine the scene. A small sore on Vasily's thigh turned into sepsis, claiming his life and leaving young Ivan bewildered amidst a cold, unforgiving court. His mother, Yelena Glinskaya, took over as regent, but she didn't last long either. In 1538, when Ivan was 8, Yelena died amid suspicions of poisoning by the boyars, ambitious Russian nobles. Once again, Ivan faced loss, no mother to shield him, only the wicked whispers of power-hungry schemers surrounding him. From 1538 to 1547, Ivan lived like a hostage in his own palace. The boyars, particularly the Shuisky and Gillespie families, treated him more as a political pawn than a future king. They neglected him, leaving him in poverty, humiliated him, and even tossed him scraps of food like charity. Ivan's tender soul was deeply scarred, and he began nurturing a profound suspicion and hatred toward the nobility. People joke that young Ivan once caught stray dogs in the palace and unleashed them into the boyars' rooms as revenge. A childish act, but one that hinted at the unrelenting nature he'd later display. Inwardly, Ivan grew increasingly isolated and insecure. He wondered if anyone in the world could be trusted, or if everyone was just waiting to betray him. Fear and loneliness intertwined, planting the seeds for the paranoia that would erupt in years to come. You can see it clearly. Ivan's childhood was an endless string of tragedies. Losing his parents so young, coupled with the boyars' cruel treatment, carved a deep mistrust into his mind. These years didn't just shape his character. They laid the groundwork for his craving for absolute power, a shield against a hostile world. On January 16th, 1547, at the age of 16, Ivan was officially crowned Tsar, the first in Russian history to claim this title, inspired by the Roman Caesar. Just weeks later, he married Anastasia Romanovna, a beautiful and gentle woman from the Romanov family. Anastasia wasn't just a wife. She was a light in Ivan's dark soul. He loved her deeply, and she seemed to have the power to soothe his fiery outburst. Guided by Bishop Makary, Ivan set out to build a Christian state rooted in justice. It's this Makary, not that Makary. He summoned the Zemski Sobor Council in 1549 to consult the nobles, issued a new legal code in 1550 to curb the boyars' power, and established Russia's first printing press in 1553 to promote culture. These reforms showed that Ivan wasn't just a future tyrant, he was a leader with vision. Militarily, Ivan expanded Russia's territory with fierce ambition. In 1552, he conquered Kazan after a brutal siege. The reason? The Khanate of Kazan constantly raided Russia's borders, looting and enslaving people to sell in Turkish and Persian markets, posing a grave threat to Moscow's security. Ivan personally led the charge, using cannons and fortifications to shatter their defenses, securing a resounding victory. In 1556, he annexed Astrakhan without firing a shot, thanks to clever negotiations, opening trade routes to the Caspian Sea. These triumphs boosted Ivan's prestige, convincing the once orphaned boy that he was invincible. It seems like plenty of orphans turned out pretty cool, like Ivan here. Take this guy, that guy, or these two kids. Then came an unexpected twist, straight out of a Hollywood plot. Ivan's fleeting happiness shattered in 1560 when Anastasia died at age 29 to 30. Ivan knelt by her bedside, clutching her hand in vain as she took her last breath. Suspicion swirled that she'd been poisoned with mercury, perhaps by the boyars, or maybe due to crude medical treatments of the time. Her death stabbed Ivan's heart like a dagger. He was convinced the nobles had stolen the woman he loved most, and from that moment, his paranoia surged stronger than ever. Clearly, the early years of Ivan's reign were a golden era of reform and military success. But Anastasia's death marked a turning point. Losing his beloved wife left him with no one to hold back the darkness within. Pain and suspicion transformed him from a reformer into a man ready to slaughter to protect his throne. In 1564, when his commander Andrei Kurbsky defected to Poland, Ivan threatened to abdicate to test his people's loyalty. When clergy and citizens begged him to stay, he seized the chance to establish the Oprichnina in 1565, a personal domain under his direct control, enforced by the Oprichniki, clad in black, wielding brooms, and adorned with dog heads as symbols. Was he planning to sweep the land clean with those brooms? Did he think Moscow's air pollution could outdo Beijing's? In reality, the Oprichniki became Ivan's tool of terror. He distrusted everyone, from boyars to commoners. In 1570, rumors of Novgorod's treachery drove him to order its destruction. The Oprichniki looted, burned homes, and killed thousands of innocents. Ivan watched, convinced this was the only way to secure his throne. Meanwhile, in 1558, Ivan launched the Livomian War to secure a Baltic Sea outlet. Russia needed ports for Western trade, but Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden coveted the region too. Early on, Ivan scored big wins, Narva in 1558 and Polotsk in 1563. But luck ran out. In 1571, the Crimean Tatars blindsided Moscow, torching the city and forcing Ivan to flee in disgrace. The Crimean Tatars sticking out their tongues, mocking Ivan. "Surprise, sucker! The war dragged on until 1583, leaving Russia exhausted and stripped of its Livonian gains, ceding Finnish Gulf towns to the enemy. Ivan's paranoia now knew no bounds. He saw enemies everywhere, even in his dreams. The Oprichnina wasn't just a power grab. It was his way of venting the fear and pain of past losses. This phase saw an explosion of brutality and paranoia. The Oprichnina proved Ivan's mental instability, while the Livonian War went from early triumphs to abject failure. A lonely childhood and Anastasia's death had turned him into a man who trusted no one, willing to sacrifice everything to cling to power. Still, I hope Ivan wouldn't echo the Joker. These days, you can't rely on anyone but yourself. On November 19th, 1581, Ivan committed his most horrific act, beating his son, Ivan Ivanovich, to death. It started with a petty spat. Ivan scolded his daughter-in-law, Yelena Sheremetova, for dressing immodestly while pregnant. Ivan Ivanovich defended her, and in a rage, Ivan swung his scepter, striking his son's head. Ivan Ivanovich collapsed, blood pooling. As Ivan screamed in despair, realizing he'd just destroyed his dynasty's future. After his son's death, Ivan plunged into deep remorse. He prayed for hours, gave to charity, but couldn't erase the pain. Paranoia still haunted him, now mingled with utter loneliness. He wondered if this was punishment for his sins. Yet Ivan pressed on, expanding eastward. Expeditions led by Yermak Timofeyevich conquered Siberia, earning him the title Tsar of Siberia. But his health crumbled, and on March 18th, 1584, he died at 53 in Moscow, leaving the throne to his feeble son, Fyodor. At this point, I find Ivan the Terrible more pitiable than blameworthy. Sitting on the throne didn't bring him happiness. It only deepened his misery. Throughout his life, he lost too much that mattered, driving his mind into an abyss of hatred and suspicion. What a pity. Killing his son was the pinnacle of Ivan's psychological collapse, a stark reflection of how past losses, his parents, Anastasia, drove him into an inescapable abyss. His final years were a mix of regret and solitude, leaving a legacy both grand and tragic. Ivan the Terrible was a man of contradictions. He forged Russia into a mighty empire, conquering Kazan, Astrakhan, and Siberia, laying the foundation for the Tsarist dynasty. But the cost was steep: brutality, mental instability, and a nation drained by war and internal terror. His orphaned childhood sowed seeds of doubt, amplified into uncontrollable paranoia by Anastasia's death. He loved fiercely, but hated just as intensely. His legacy is both a point of pride, a vast Russia, and a haunting memory of terribleness, not just for his violence, but for his awe-inspiring authority. In sum, Ivan was a unique figure, an embodiment of power and tragedy. He built an empire, but demolished what he held dearest. His life is a tale of ambition, loss, and loneliness, leaving an indelible mark on Russian history. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on more wild history tales. Catch you later.